Welcome back to the Soul Calibur 5 playthrough. We get to play another fight as Patroclus now.
You know, because you said it so many times during your last commentary, I'm expecting every part you to begin with "Welcome back to the Don'ta's game."
Well, you know,
Get it out of my head, Lewis.
Well, you know, I don't like Don'te much, but I'd rather play as Don'te than Patroclus. I'll say it now, because Patroclus is just such an unlikable wimp. He's that blowhard who sucks royally, but talks a big game because he needs to feel more powerful than everyone around him. He basically starts the game off as a bully, and I don't feel like his character development over the course of the story mode is natural at all. It's just he abruptly starts not being as much of an asshole. Anyway, the main character of the previous game is giving us Soul Calibur.
I thought we were fighting Soul Calibur at the end of the game.
No, Soul Calibur has chosen Patroclus as its wielder. Here's the thing about Soul Calibur and Soul Edge. They transform into different weapons based on who's wielding them. The big-ass sword types that Siegfried and Nightmare use are just their versions of it, but in Soul Calibur 4, in the customization options, every character in the game had a version of Soul Edge or Soul Calibur. So that's an interesting thing.
2 I'd say.
Same in 2.
2, yeah, it was the same in 2.
So Link could have Soul Calibur?
Yep.
But Link had Great Fairy Sword, I think. That was Soul Calibur.
It's funny. Everyone talks about Link, but nobody talks about the guest character that was in the other version of the game. What was it, Spawn?
Spawn was Xbox, Hayachi was PS2. Link was
Yeah.
Yeah, well that's because...
And no one cares about those two because of Link.
Nobody cares about Heihachi because Namco could put Heihachi in a Soul Calibur game whenever the fuck they want.
Though I think, like, statistically and in terms of combat, I think Spawn was considered the best character. I think Link was considered the worst, even though he's the one everyone else likes.
And if Heihachi's anything like the Devil Jin style in Soul Calibur 5, he's probably broken beyond belief.
Wait, Link was considered the worst character in Soul Calibur 2?
No, I remember him being considered one of the better ones.
No, I hear all the time that Link was considered, in terms of, like, tournaments, Link was considered the worst.
Well, here's the thing about the guest characters. Nobody...
out of the guest characters. Yeah.
Nobody really takes the guest characters seriously in Soul Calibur. They're either obscenely broken, like they are, like Yoda is, or they're just there for, you know, novelty's sake, like Darth Vader and Starkiller. Although those two were pretty good characters in the context of the game. When you play a serious Soul Calibur game with a serious Soul Calibur player, you're probably playing against a member of the Soul Calibur cast.
Yeah, I got my jollies with Link in Soul Calibur 2, and I always look forward to going back with him, but when it came to getting serious into Soul Calibur, I was always, I forgot the samurai guy's name in Soul Calibur 2.
Oh, is that, what's his
Mitsurugi.
name? Mitsurugi, yes.
Mitsurugi. I was Mitsurugi, I was Talum. Oh no, not Tom. Takim or something like that, or
Taki. It is
Taki.
Taki is
Taki was the ninja girl.
Taki's
I'm talking about the young girl with
ninja.
like the double. I'm talking about the young girl with she was like one with the wind and something like that. I think it was Talum, or
Yeah, I think it was Talum.
Possibly, yeah. Well, she's not even in this game, like even as a style, so. Yeah, a lot of people lost their mains when Soul Calibur 5 ditched half the cast. Really bugs me. But
Yeah, this is the game you're playing for the channel.
This is the game I'm playing for the channel because the alternative is Soul Calibur 4, and there's not really much to play through in that game. Every character has a story mode that lasts approximately 10 minutes, and it's really just a series of fights with an ending to it. It might as well just be their arcade mode.
that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, except the fights are structured differently. Like, you'll fight one straight round that is against 3 people, and they'll come at you one at a time, and when you beat one, the other will just spawn in.
So does this game have a weapons masters mode like in 2?
Soul Calibur 5 is really light on single-player modes. There's a story mode. There's a quick battle mode, which is basically just a quasi-online, offline kind of thing where you fight a lot of bots with usernames. and take their titles. And then there's what is it called? There's this other mode where you fight fucking Khalik or whatever his name is, and he's fucking unstoppable, and I can never beat him for more than one round. And that's about it. That's all I can think of.
How recent is Soul Calibur 5? Like, when did this come out?
A couple years ago. Not a couple years ago, but it's fairly recent, but also fairly well back in our present calendar timeline. Whatever. I don't even know. Let me just look it up.
It's the most recent one, all right?
Well, it's not the most recent Soul Calibur game. In fact, the most recent Soul Calibur game is The Lost Swords, I think it's called. It's a free-to-play game where you fight an infinite array of bots to grind points and items and equipment, and it's really terrible, and I don't recommend it. But it's also...
Free-to-play, boo hiss.
It's a really bad free-to-play game. If you want a good free-to-play fighting game, okay, and you've got a PS3, get Dead or Alive 5 Core Fighters, okay? It's free. You get to play like all the features except story mode, and you get 4 characters for free, and you can buy whichever character you want for the price of a goddamn sandwich.
I remember her. She was in 4.
Soul Calibur 5 is a 2012 game. 2013 for digital. So yeah, it's fairly recent, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
I remember getting some enjoyment playing as her in Soul Calibur 4. Is that Sophitia or is that Cassandra?
This character is Pyrrha, and she's the daughter of Sophitia, who is mentioned by name in Soul Calibur 4 as the child who was kidnapped, and the reason Sophitia is fighting to protect Soul Edge.
So this is one of her kids.
Yes, Sophitia mysteriously vanishes, or possibly she dies during the events of Soul Calibur 4. I'm not really sure what the canon is there. And her kids, Patroclus and Pyrrha, are left behind, and they're the representatives of the Holy Sword, Sword and Shield fighting style. Neither of them fights entirely like Cassandra or Sophitia, but they have a similar fighting style. But the bullshit thing about so
they might as well be the Cassandra.
Yeah, the bullshit thing about Patroclus and Pyrrha though is that there are 2 versions of each of them. The second version of Pyrrha is just like a more aggressive version of what you're seeing now, and the second version of Patroclus, which we'll see later in story mode, is Patroclus except he's hijacked Setsuna's style from Soul Calibur 4.
She's a very apologetic attacker, I see.
Yes. She kicks you in the balls and then she says sorry about it. She's such a nice girl.
She impales you in the back. Oh, I'm so that must hurt.
But anyway, I'm not really sure how she's... Now that I'm looking at her animation and not actually paying attention to the fighting, I'm not sure how they managed to work so much jiggle into this outfit. Because it looks like it should have plenty of support, but no.
Like, she's wearing a full-out breastplate, so, like, that shouldn't...
Yeah. They're bouncing around pretty freely for all of that heavy leather, but back to what I was actually about to comment on is Pyrrha's story is basically, after Soul Calibur 4, she was raised by Tira to think that she was a Malfested, a demon, basically. So she's this really confused, apologetic girl who doesn't want to fight but has to because people are trying to kill her because Tira riled them up against her and stuff.
Yeah, for someone who's saying she can't, she sure can.
Well, she's saying she can't stop.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that like her inner demons or something like that?
I guess. I like that one throw that she does, though, where she just grabs you by the head, drags you backwards, and lets you fall on top of her sword.
I'm so sorry. Oh, I did it again.
Tira, I killed someone again. Actually, about 26 someones.
But I had to.
So wait, is that creepy girl with the ring blade the dude's sister?
But I'm human.
The creepy girl with the ring blade is the girl who kidnapped the dude's sister. Pyrrha is the dude's sister. Yeah.
The apologetic girl is... Oh, okay.
Pyrrha is
All right.
Patroklos' sister, the sister he's looking for and killing people during his search for her and all that stuff. The woman with the ring blade is the person who reportedly kidnapped his sister.
Alright.
So in order to find Pyrrha, he's looking for her. Because Pyrrha was an infant at the time she was kidnapped, or so I understand. Soul Calibur, like a lot of fighting games, is one of those games where to get a lot of the story points, you sort of have to, well, rock a wiki. In any case, we're going to be playing as Pyrrha for a little bit. Story mode mostly bounces back and forth between Patroklos and Pyrrha, because Patroklos is the character who's chosen by Soul Calibur, and Pyrrha is the character who eventually starts wielding Soul Edge.
So it's, they're brother and sister, but they have to fight because it's destiny and crap. Is that where this is going?
Pretty much, although Tira's reason for kidnapping Pyrrha is she's trying to mold Pyrrha into a host for Soul Edge.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw him at the market just the other day.
And you didn't talk to him?
Was looking for his long-lost sister.
Oh!
He had a shield just like yours. Don't you want to meet your
Now, this is one of those cases where the manipulative bitch talks in such an obviously slimy way that it's a wonder Pyrrha trusts her at all. But I guess, her perspective would be skewed by bad
Well,
writing.
she's also look at her. She's so fucking timid.
I'm going to say I like the story mode, but not the story or the presentation attached to it. I always thought about Soul Calibur 4 that if it was going to have a story mode, it should have done more with the story element. Like, Mortal Kombat, Dead or Alive 5.
You're talking strictly presentation? Because I agree,
Yes,
this is Soul Calibur and the Secret Rings.
Presentation as well, but Soul Calibur 4's story mode didn't actually do much in terms of story. The beginning was a text crawl, and then you got a short ending video, and that was the entirety of the story. Everything else was the same transition scenes over and over for every character. Soul Calibur 5 actually does some things with the story mode. On the other hand, the story itself is badly written. The cutscenes aren't. The cutscenes are done in still frame artwork that isn't even all that great. Like, your standard DeviantArt artist could do better than this.
So these guys we're fighting, are they like people you can play on the roster?
No, a lot of the people.
They look awfully bare.
A lot of the people that you fight in story mode are random NPCs that you meet on the battlefield that are really just constructed out of pieces and parts that you can use in custom character generation.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, they're basically bot characters, and that was a thing in Soul Calibur 4 as well. But they all do have fighting styles that are used by actual characters in the games.
Okay.
How lucrative is create your custom character in this game?
Oh, custom characters? Well, Part 4 we're going to see, was it Part 4 or Part 7? I think it's Part 7 I'm going to show off a custom character. But, basically, customization in Soul Calibur 5 is simultaneously better and worse than Soul Calibur 4. You have a lot more control over body type, for one thing. In Soul Calibur 4, you basically had two settings, one that determined how muscular you were, and one that determined how sexy or unsexy you were. I think that was the two settings anyway. In Soul Calibur 5, I really like the body customization because you have 5 different height options, and you also have a size slider for literally every body part in the game. So you can
you could look like some sort of Quasimodo abomination if you really wanted to.
If you really wanted to, yes, but you can do quite a lot in terms of what your character looks like. You can color their skin and hair anything you want. The only really limited things that slightly bug me are that you only have a certain number of faces and a certain number of hairstyles to work with. But the real downfall of character customization in this game is the equipment. Like, there isn't a whole lot of interesting equipment in-game. A lot of the interesting stuff comes from the DLC packs. But the DLC packs are also plagued by clipping issues if you try to mix and match them with other outfits. So there isn't really a lot of viable freedom in terms of how you dress up your characters. And also, as a personal complaint, all of the skirt options for female characters have really, really bad physics that usually involve legs clipping through the skirts.
Oh.
So they aren't even worth using.
Why have them there at all?